Hello and welcome to the Comic Watcher Show Comic Watch Maintenance Super Spring Spectacular Special. Yes, I crammed all those extra words in there, Nick. I'm your host, Matt Meyer. With me, as always, is Nicholas Osborne. Mike Eakins, aka Luke Johnson, is taking a break this week, so we have got our old pal and chum, Professor Cody White, with us this week. So, what in the world, Nicholas? I went to go to comic-watch.com and there was no website. What is happening?
Oh no, the sky is falling and I am
The internet is done.
Not so drastic. We are in maintenance mode. You may have seen I posted a video on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of our social media handles explaining that the Comic Watch website was in a server migration. We were updating from what's called pretty much a public server to something that's a dedicated server for just our website, so we could have so many more fans on, keep growing for the future and pushing Comic Watch to the next level. But there's been some technical difficulties, to say the least. And right now, with the website fully migrated to the new server, we are hard at work doing some rebuilding on some things that were lost, some things that need improvement, and we're ready to hit the ground running in what looks like about a week's time from today.
Well, what does that mean if between now and then, if I would like to get fandom news and pro reviews?
That means you just need to stay tuned because we're going to be doing a lot on social media. We are not just falling off the face of the earth. We have so many followers on our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and we might even be moving into other social media platforms, so stay tuned for that. But we're super excited to keep bringing you all the fandom news and reviews that you love. Just today, we dropped an exclusive preview of the latest Iron Man issue on our Twitter and Facebook account. So we're going to be following up with a lot of stuff like that, some announcements, and then some interesting reading recommendations and other special little highlights that we're going to be kicking off starting tomorrow. So there are some cool things in the works, and when we're ready to go live again, we have some really exciting things that I'm just pumped to show everybody, and it's going to get a lot better, trust me.
Does this mean that the site will have a brand new look, Nick?
This means something like that. The site's going to be very improved on a lot of different ways, from the back end to the user experience on the front. There's going to be a lot of cool things happening, and not just with the site. There's also some cool things happening with the overall Comic Watch brand and some new initiatives that we're pushing that, we're not wasting any time in this downtime while we're in maintenance mode. There are a lot of things in the works right now, and it's going to be an exciting time. So just bear with us for a little bit longer, and it'll be worth the wait, I promise.
Now, Nick, how am I, the discerning comics news connoisseur, to be assured that comic-watch.com is not devolving into a listicle and clickbait website?
That is the last thing on our mind right now. We don't want anything to do with that. There's too much awesome news out there, too many stories that are spectacular that you need to know about, that we are all read up on and ready to talk about. And I think that's where we do our best, is in letting the fans know almost what they're missing out on in some of the most important and impactful stories happening in comics. Also mediums outside of comics like TVs, movie, anime. There's a lot coming, and we're not going to be some listicle site.
Huzzah! I am sold. I cannot wait for the new comic-watch.com.
It's going to be new, all right. That's for sure.
Scene. So yeah, we've got some awesome stuff coming. We've had some crazy stuff happening on the backside. None of that right there was scripted, by the way. That's how in the zone Nick and I are, that we could just like vibe like that and deliver such flawless and peerless acts of thespianism. So yeah, stay tuned. Comic Watch is coming back, bigger, badder, better than ever before. And it's going to be awesome. It is going to be awesome. It's going to be equipped to handle a lot more site traffic as we grow in the industry, like Nick was saying. and we have accessibility and the ability to bring you more and more awesome inside information. Something that we need is the capacity to bring that to you in a manner that doesn't take your load time in upon clicking on an article back to dial-up. So this is important things. But yeah, we're not going anywhere. Don't freak out. We love you. We want to give you an update, you, the audience, and all that. And man, we still have a show to do, so to speak. So there's been a lot of amazing news bits happening. Guys, what's been happening in the world of comics?
There's been so much, really. It's kind of hard to cover all of it because the website has been down a few days already, and every day that goes by, every time we get press releases, every time a new announcement happens on Twitter, it just breaks my heart that we're not putting out all the articles and telling everybody about it. So I'm glad we're able to do this show and at least cover some of the more important things that have been coming out and some interesting news that has been happening. I think, dialing it back a little bit, a few days ago, we got some new news on some of the DC animated movies. There's a Justice Society World War II coming out digital and Blu-ray on May 11th, 2021. And it's looking pretty exciting. They've got a voice cast announced where some of the main players, at least. So we've got Barry Allen, who's going to be voiced by Matt Bomer, Hawkman from Ahmed Abtahi, Charles Halstead from Jeff Arend, and Jay Garrick, voiced by Armin Taylor. We're also going to have Black Canary showing up in that one. So there's a lot of players in there that I think people are excited to see. And
I know I can speak for Cody and myself that whenever the JSA shows up, it's time to party.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
1945.
People are hyped for the JSA, and I think there's a bit of a resurgence happening right now with that team, and this kind of taps into that a little bit. So I'm excited. And also announced following up the next month in June 22nd, DC is doing Batman: The Long Halloween Part 1, an animated film. And
Jensen Ackles is the voice of Batman.
I think I don't know if we've gotten any cast announcements yet for who's doing the voice.
No,
I may be wrong.
It is yeah.
Oh my! I missed that. That's pretty exciting.
When you watch the trailer, it doesn't sound like him unless you've watched enough Supernatural to know what it sounds like when Dean says, "I'm Batman" or something like that. So, yes, it's him. And today, and I'm just on Ackles' watch for a second. He himself posted a picture of his scruffy, bearded, and bedraggled look that he'll be sporting as drummer boy for The Boys season 3. So,
oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny. I had to ask my wife who's sexier now, and she was like, "It's you, obviously." So,
obviously, right? So switching over to Marvel, there's been a couple of new announcements that I think was what most people are talking about, especially now. Moon Knight is returning, getting his own ongoing series from Jed MacKay and Alessandro Cappuccio, which, if I can just plug in, both Jed MacKay, who has been doing Black Cat and some pretty cool indie series, super talented, really excited for them to get kind of their hands on a larger character like Moon Knight. And also Alessandro Cappuccio. If you followed me at all, I'm a huge fan of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series from Boom, and this is where that artist came from. Super up and comer, really cool. Like this is where they're getting their work, and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series has been spectacular. Just a whole new relaunch for the Power Rangers franchise, and most of the fans are calling it the best storytelling in the franchise right now. So I'm really excited to see what they bring to Moon Knight. As you know, Moon Knight's getting a Disney Plus series, so this kind of falls in line with what we would expect from Marvel and kind of hyping that character up.
Nick, do we have a release date for Moon Knight #1 yet?
Looks like, I'm not sure if we have yes, we have a release date on 7/7 of this year.
Right.
So not too far away, actually, and it's going to be spinning out of the current or the recent Age of Khonshu arc and Jason Aaron's Avengers run.
I had a feeling that Age of Khonshu arc was teeing something up.
Right. Like, there's not a coincidence.
What's that, Cody?
While we're on the subject, don't forget to check out Josh and I interviewed Jed MacKay since we've been down regarding his Magic #1 over at Boom, his Magic the Gathering series. So make sure you check it out. We talked to him for about 35 minutes or so. A lot of really cool things to say. He's a real down-to-earth guy. I can't think of a better person that I would like to see on a character that I actually really care about a lot. So Moon Knight's a personal favorite of mine, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Awesome. Yeah, super cool. I'm honestly one of the only people I think that I know who hasn't read a lot of Moon Knight. Everybody's so excited for it, and their excitement is getting me excited for it. So maybe it's time to read some more.
I think it is. I do think it is.
Always the ever-growing to read pile. And speaking of that particularly threatening pile, there is a new slate of X titles coming up, and that was recently announced. So, you've got the Dawn of X. So Hickman's whole new era of X-Men is continuing with the Reign of X. And there's a new graphic that we've got some information on. So some of the announcements that we've already known about, Children of the Atom from Vita Ayala and Bernard Chang, along with The Way of X by Cy Spurrier and Bob Quinn, and X Corp from Teenie Howard and Alberto Foce. Sorry if I've mispronounced that.
And all those.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
Children of the Atom #1 is on sale. We've got Way of X coming in April and X Corp coming in May. And then if you followed Mutant Watch at all, our sister show, the all-around X-Men spectacular show, who honestly probably has a larger following than us. In June 22nd, or in June 2021, we've got the Hellfire Gala that is pretty exciting. I know a lot of X-Men fans are excited for that one. It seems to be kind of the defining moment right now for X-Men.
Yeah, I think, and that kicks. So the way that they're doing that is, instead of a big crossover like they did last year with Ten of Swords, they've got the one planet-sized X-Men one-shot that kicks it off. It's the gala itself, and then each one of the X books that month is reflective of that particular team or individual's role in the story. So I don't think you have to read all of them, but it does culminate with the reveal of the new X-Men team with the one member that was picked by fans. So that'll be really cool. And then there's a couple of others. X-Men itself is relaunching with a new #1 with Jerry Duggan writing it instead of Hickman to reflect that new team. And then there's a secret book launching in August by Hickman and somebody else, and we don't know what that is yet.
No, all we know really right now is in July there's a new X-Men #1 from, like Matt said, Jerry Duggan and Pepe Larraz. And then in August, there's a classified series from Leah Williams and Valerio Schiti. And then Jonathan Hickman and Redacted Artists are taking on a new X title in September that we really don't know much about.
So I've had a theory for a while now that we're going to get probably a 2.5 to 3 year run out of this Krakoa era for X-Men. And it's going to be 3 acts. And the first act ended with 10 of Swords. I think Hellfire Gala is going to get in the second act and move us towards the finale. But the way that this thing, with so many sprawling books, so many moving parts, I mean, that could be a whole nother year away before it truly ends. So that's purely my speculation. Take it for what it is.
They are not going to stop riding this train until this train stops making money.
Well, no, well, I'm basing that on, and I definitely hear where you're coming from, but I'm basing that on the fact that when Hickman was in control of the Avengers franchise, he very clearly had a beginning, middle, and end for his story that he had planned out between New Avengers and Adjectiveless Avengers. And what I mean is he was going to have some kind of an end game for this. You know,
When he said he had 20 years worth of stories, like already.
Yeah, but that's obviously hyperbole.
I don't think it is. This guy is a stat junkie, like a whatever. Just I'm sure he has a spreadsheet with 20 years worth of stories. I do not doubt that in the least. And as long as they're making money, Marvel
and they're making more money off X-Men right now than they have in
a very
years?
long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
A very long time.
Yeah. But just trying to think about it from a creative standpoint, less a stale standpoint.
That would imply that somebody very creative was behind it. Oh, Jonathan taking shots.
Wow.
Not a fan.
And just want to chime in here, Gabriel, fellow comic watcher, what's up? Hickman said he had an exit plan that he could pull out whenever the story stopped working. Maybe that means stops making money.
He's the opposite of George Bush.
Well, we haven't touched on the Moira X stuff at all yet. Like that's just on the back burner right now ever since Hawk's Box.
They haven't touched on that since. I'm a little behind. I'm surprised that has not come up at all.
It's just hanging out there. So
much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So moving on, we got a few more things.
Well, this is a Mutant Watch.
Yeah. Watch the Mutants at Twitter, and you'll be able to keep up with all this good stuff. And they're a lot more knowledgeable than I, so head over there and follow them. So honestly, I want to touch on this. It's not really news, but it's comics, and it's an interesting thing that happened. A new Action Comics #1 has sold and broken another record previously held by a different copy of Action Comics #1. This one sold for $3.25 million at a private sale from ComicConnect.com. And apparently it was one of the higher quality or higher rated issues that is known to exist right now. I'm not sure exactly what grade they were giving it, but had to be pretty high to sell for that amount and break another record.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was CGC'd. Hold on, I'll look it up. But
was it the 8.0 CGC that
I think it was.
I mean, that's pretty high grade for a 30s book like that. Yeah. No, I mean, just cool happening. Like, this is the comics thing that everybody wishes was in their attic, that they could just dig up an Action Comics #1 and, get rich again. But likely that's not going to happen.
It's very strange. Like, this is happening across a lot of different collector markets, too. Like, we're seeing it in the sports card world right now, where a Tom Brady rookie card just sold for, I think, north of $3 million.
Wow.
There was a nearly $2 million Kobe rookie a couple months ago. And then the Brady rookie just broke the record that he just set like a month ago. So, I mean, we're seeing it in the sports card world too, where just these records are being smashed right now. And I mean, part of it, we could speculate is due to things like stimulus checks going to people that have already disposable income built into their income.
Yeah.
People out there actively trying to spark the market, spark the economy. There's a lot of money being floated around in the let's call it the upper echelon of collectors, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is not one that I'm a part of. Like, I'm kind of just happy I picked up a copy of Earth 2 #19, which is the first appearance of Val-Zod, for like $20. I'm pretty hyped about that. That's an investment for me.
Yeah. CGC'd at an 8.5. That is unheard of for a comic that old, especially that comic that there's less than 100 known copies left to exist.
Yeah. I mean, just remarkable, and it's a really cool landmark moment for comics. Like,
yeah,
I know a lot of people have a lot to say about the speculator industry and kind of just flipping comics, but this kind of transcends that. This is history, and it's important. And I'm glad to see that somebody's out there willing to drop over $3 million on Action Comics 1. I would do it if I had the money. So
I would open it and read it.
I would not.
I absolutely would. I might wear gloves, but I'm definitely reading.
Oh yeah, I would definitely wear some gloves.
I don't know if I have it in me. Like, I don't know if it was set in front of me, if I could actually open that book like that. I don't know.
What are you gonna do?
Okay, all right, moving on. Some different news from Marvel. Sony actually signed an exclusive deal with Netflix that starting in with the 2022 slate, they're going to be having like a first look deal, direct to streaming market with Sony. So all the Spider-Man movies, Venom, Morbius, all of those are going to Netflix and not Disney Plus,
Yeah.
which is an interesting little sign into what might be a bit of a little rift happening between Sony and Disney. You know, what does the future look like with
The
Spidey
Sony
and
Marvel movies aren't on Disney Plus right now anyway.
No, there are some kind of, they have the legacy
Right.
movies on Disney Plus, but
Those are from Fox, aren't they?
totally, yes.
Yeah, none of the Sony stuff is.
And a lot of people are kind of taking this as maybe a sign that Sony isn't playing so nice with Disney and they're a little worried about the future of Spidey at Marvel. Just tough to tell.
I mean, this is
I'm sorry, Cody. Go ahead.
It's been an ongoing discourse the whole time. Sony is constantly trying to push back and take back what they can.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, as long as Marvel is putting up that Mickey Mouse money to make these films, they're going to allow it. They're going to allow it. They're going to keep their to what they can. And I mean, it makes total sense to me. But I mean, this wouldn't be the first time that people have speculated doom and gloom for this. I mean, if you recall, before Far From Home came out, the deal fell through and then was reworked because, honestly, Sony just wants mouse money. And I mean, who wouldn't, right? If you can get mouse money, you get mouse money. That's that's modern entertainment.
I mean, yeah, you've got the MCU right now, which is like the biggest thing in cinema. And you've got Sony, who's not Disney, who owns one of the biggest Marvel characters or the rights to one of the biggest Marvel characters there is. Anything that doesn't involve Spidey being at home with Marvel is a loss of money and not something these companies are interested in. But it was kind of a surprising move to see that they went with Netflix.
I'm not surprised by that because Netflix had their falling out with Disney. And so, since Sony is just kind of at odds, or well, not odds, I guess, but a stalemate, I suppose, with Disney, it actually kind of makes humorous sense that they would go to Netflix and be like, nah. So,
yeah,
I think there's logic there.
Probably, and I doubt that this is the end of Spidey at Marvel. I'm sure we're going to get to see plenty more. So the doomsayers out there, but speculation runs rampant with this news.
Yeah,
I think it's worth noting that Sony is essentially the last studio. They're the last studio standing that didn't create their own app along the way. And I think that part of that has to be playing in there because there's only so many streaming services people are going to be willing to pay for.
Yeah.
If you're the last kid on the block to have your own, like Warner Brothers has HBO Max, Universal is over at what is it, Peacock?
Yeah, Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all scooped up already. Sony's the last kid standing on the corner. Like, where do I fit in?
Well, it's also, to get back to your mouse money point, Cody, it's really worth noting that before inking the Spider-Man sharing deal with Disney, Sony as a studio was quickly spiraling monetarily down the toilet. They only released something like 9 movies in 2015 or something like that. Like, that's not a good sign. That's a very unhealthy sign.
And they had all the leaks and all the and they got out there like just a total mess.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, like they don't want to admit it, but they need their partnership with Disney, even if it's just for the one franchise.
No doubts about it. And honestly, it is what it is. Like, Marvel Cinematic Universe is probably going to continue to dominate. I doubt that's going to drop off anytime soon. And Spidey's going to be right there along with them. So, all right, moving on. I want to see if I can pull up for our people watching. Actually, on the show, we have some DC round robin news and pretty interesting stuff because we've got an update on who's moving forward and who's not. So there was a lot of uproar about the Justice League queer being pitted up against Robins, a Gotham special where Batman is the #1 seller for DC. He's got all the fans. So they pit up a queer story up against Robins that's likely going to lose. And it did. And now Robins has advanced. So we can see you got Jesse Quick, Blue Beetle, Suicide Squad, Superman and Lois, which I was surprised at. Lobo and Animal Man, Zatanna and the King of Nightmares, and Green Lantern's Underworld on Fire, all advancing to the second round. And it is something that a lot of fans continue to talk about with DC doing this round robin. It's a way to engage with the fans for sure, and kind of, put the power in their hands on which comics they want to see. So all the creative teams are starting to kind of come out of their shell a little bit and make their case a little bit more for these titles as they advance through the rounds. I know there's some Green Lanterns art happening right now on Twitter, and kind of a pitch that's going on for that one. I mean, who doesn't want to see Kilowog and Kyle team up? They're pitching it as a buddy cop, so I'm sure that's really cool. And maybe I'm going to be on board with this Superman and Lois, where Lois teams up with Supes with some powers, looking like Tony Stark and Pepper Potts out there. So we don't know what's going to happen with it, but DC is at least doing something different. And unfortunately, they did invite some controversy with their handling.
Yeah, that was a major unforced error.
Yeah,
on their part.
Yeah, it really was.
I seriously doubt that anybody intended anything by that, but at the same time, just by being a bonehead, and nobody at no level caught that was not a good idea, it's not a good look, and it's not good. So learn your lesson, DC, and make JLQ happen somehow or another anyway.
And I think that's already going to be the case. I've seen some people talking already, and nothing official has been announced. But I know they had posted, it's on the DC Universe Infinite app, where they engage a little bit more with fans, where they said that they're listening, that they understand what's going on with the discourse, and to keep your eyes peeled, because this team and this concept isn't going away. And maybe they'll kind of learn from what's all over social media right now, and to just make Justice League Queer happen.
Yeah,
and don't put it in a bracket.
I mean, did anybody really believe that they whittled this down to 16 concepts and were willing to only print one of them? Like, that's There's no way that's what's going through their heads. Like, I think there's a pretty good chance that all 16 of these will eventually see the light of day in some
way, shape, or form. Yeah.
A short story in an anthology or something else. But I mean, like, they're just going to throw 15 potentially good ideas away. Like, doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, you do not throw away Paws Off the Justice League. You just don't do it. It's right there.
I can't believe that didn't win. What bullshit. Matt.
Like, come on.
I'm mad. We don't get enough super pets, goddammit.
We don't.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so in the last bit of news, just before we got on the show, really, I couldn't help but notice there was something else happening, and I'm really excited to share this. I can pull it up and let everybody see, but we have a Zemo cut, y'all. I don't know if you're up to date on the latest episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but non-spoiler scene here, there is a dancing cut of Baron Zemo that Twitter went wild for, and I'm going to play a little bit of it here so y'all can see. Oh.
Podcast fail. There it goes.
There we go.
For a second, see, this kind of reminds me of Spider-Man 3.
Okay, so we're not going to play the whole thing, but we've got an hour-long cut of Baron Zemo dancing.
Okay, that's definitely not news, but I love that.
How is it? This is the most important thing that's happened all day.
Yeah, it is like to me that is the biggest news that I was like as soon as I saw it, I was like I gotta show it. Like that's
Why
going
didn't you
on the
lead
show.
with this? Why did you let me blabber about the site for 10 minutes?
Yeah, right. Like gotta end it on a high note. And to me that's a high note. They're saying they released the Zemo cut and you know what that is. Like you know what that is and I'll take it. I love it. And
By the way,
honestly,
show so far. In case anybody was wondering or was on the fence on it, three episodes in, fourth episode dropping tonight / tomorrow.
No.
Show's freaking great. Like it is essentially just an extended Marvel movie.
Yes.
And this reads just like a Marvel film.
Yes.
With endearing and charming characters and fun developments and
Odin willing Capwolf.
yes. Now, sympathetic characters, easy to hate characters. Like it's just all across the board. I've been very impressed with it.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Bonus points if they mess up Baron Zemo's face by the end.
I mean, we already got the mask, so I'm
Yeah, we got the mask. Let's hideously scar the guy. Chop, chop. Drop him in a volcano.
So mean.
So I want to talk to you guys, and the last time the three of us were together on this show, it was to discuss the Snyder Cut. And since then, there has been a rash of a new hashtag. And y'all know what hashtag I'm talking about. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on this brewing shitstorm that is Restore the Snyderverse.
Cody? Maybe you want to start?
No, this is exactly everybody that said, I'm a little worried about this release the Snyder Cut business and then the fans get what they want. Well, fans always want more. Like that's what fans want. They want more. So I mean anybody that couldn't see the writing on the wall was dumbass. This was gonna happen. We knew this was gonna happen. It's happening. It's not good. I don't think it's a good precedent to set for
it's terrible
anything. I don't think it would be good to set it for comics. I don't think it's good to set it for Hollywood. I don't think it's good to set it just in any scenario other than like, I don't know, maybe a Democratic Republic.
Of Congo.
But just, I mean, there's so much ugliness and toxicness attached to it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not to say that everybody dropping this hashtag and everybody that's behind this movement is toxic, because that's not true.
No.
There are some decent, upstanding people that are involved with this.
Yeah.
But
there's decent people that like the Snyder Cut, like Nick. So, I mean...
I don't know if it goes Nick D, but I mean...
You were a pretty passionate defender 2 weeks ago, my friend. Don't back up now.
No, I'm ready, and I'm letting Cody have his spiel because I do have thoughts.
But yeah, I think it's a dangerous precedent. I think it's a precedent that we all saw coming. So I mean, when I'm not surprised, I'm not going to use the hashtag. I can promise you that. I don't want more Snyderverse. I want pretty much anything but I mean, I guess not Joss Whedon. I don't want that. I know.
That kind of is where like the biggest thing is, because along with the release the Snyder Cut hashtag, there has been a ton of news dropping recently. It's like the floodgates have opened about the production of not only Justice League but Batman v Superman. That there's kind of been this unprecedented level of, you want to talk about toxicity, like what happened filming these movies from behind the scenes. The fans may be displaying or like showing their ass with this, the hashtag and like review bombing Godzilla versus Kong and stuff like that. But what's been going on behind the scenes, what happened with Justice League and what happened now that we're learning, it even happened pretty significantly with Batman v Superman, where the writer Chris Terrio pretty much immediately wanted his name removed from Justice League. After seeing it, and the writer for Batman v Superman didn't even name it, is saying that the name Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice probably came from a marketing team, and that they just wanted to find a way to have Batman and Superman in the title.
That in and of itself, I totally believe.
Oh, yeah. There's so much happening right now. Gal Gadot just put out a statement, I believe today or yesterday, talking about how they also had issues just like Ray Fisher did with Cyborg. Apparently Ben Affleck did. Apparently Jason Momoa did. And Gal Gadot was a little bit more reserved in their response. They said when they had an issue, they took it to the higher-ups, and the higher-ups dealt with it pretty immediately. And we're led to believe that this is probably something to do with the faceplant in the booby sequence, that rumors are both Gal and their stunt double rejected to film, and Joss Whedon threatened to disparage her career, make Wonder Woman look like a joke, and all kinds of other threats. It's a lot to take in. And with all of this news coming out about how terrible the production studio, the team was behind the scenes, and what led to what we know is Batman v Superman and the Justice League, we can kind of see where this dedicated fandom kind of was born out of, because these aren't just rumors that, you know, were unfounded. There was really serious shit going on. And now we're seeing, like, Jason Momoa pretty much took immediately to release the Snyder Cut. Deathstroke actor Joe Manganiello did the Deathstroke for HBO Max series hashtag, and who also did release the Snyder Cut. Got a bunch of actors. I saw one floating around of The Rock doing the release the Snyder Cut, but I don't know if that one was real or not. I haven't been able to confirm it because dude's on social media a lot, and there's a lot to scroll through. But there's just a lot of that going on, where there's a ton of good people who really just enjoy this story, who aren't tied up in review bombing random ass films that have nothing to do with it, who just enjoy this vision and this creative direction that has been tampered with so much that it's pretty much a tragedy. And the fact that we even got the Snyder Cut is just a glimpse of what should have been. And now we're understanding just the depths of how gross the things that actually happened really were.
On the flip side of that coin, right? Because we're talking about two different things here. We're talking, one, about fans dictating the direction of the industry, and also
and by doing so via toxic and shitty tactics.
Yeah, and some toxic and shitty, some just fine. But I mean, regardless, there's that aspect of it, and then the grossness behind the scene aspect, which, I mean, one, this is Hollywood. This has always been there, like always been there.
Yeah.
Like, do we think that this did not happen on Avengers? Do we think that Joss just suddenly showed up in the DC, became a scumbag? No, he's been doing this his whole career. So I mean, the reality is, what if they had demanded a change in Avengers? Should we have recuts of the Avengers because Joss is a shitbag? Like, it doesn't seem right. It seems like a very bad precedent that every time we find a production team that's douchey, which is like all of them, that the fans say, no, we want to recut. We want to fix this.
And I mean, here's a more cynical perspective, and not necessarily mine, but just a perspective that I was reading somewhere. Is okay. So Joss Whedon did some shitty things. He did some things that could be construed as bullying and sexist and possibly racist, et cetera, et cetera. Well, yeah, I said sexist. And
there's a ton of stuff.
There's a lot there, but at the same time, he didn't harm anybody physically. He didn't do anything illegal. Like Cody was saying, I'm guaranteeing you he's very far from the first person to act this way on a Hollywood production.
But I think that it's an apples to oranges case with Avengers and what happened in Justice League, because that was Joss Whedon's vision that got to come to life. Chris Terrio just came out and said that the theatrical cut of Justice League was an act of vandalism. And I don't think anybody who had a part with the Avengers is coming out and saying that about that movie. There was a lot that went in on Justice League that was twisted and kind of distorted.
I'm not trying to make any excuses for any at all here. I'm just trying to help keep a perspective on things, because, you know, being an asshole is wrong. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Don't do that. And if Joss Whedon felt like he couldn't handle the job of finishing somebody else's movie, then he shouldn't have accepted the assignment. that's no excuse.
He definitely thought he could finish it. I think he just. I mean, I do think he did vandalize that film. I think 100%. Like that was.
I mean, and maybe that's true. I'll be honest. I haven't. It's been 4 years since I've seen the original theatrical cut. I
went
don't
back
remember.
and forth between the two.
Yeah.
I mean, just seeing some moments of it, it was like, ooh. But there were other moments that were far better. I thought the intro in the Justice League, minus the haircut or the hair lip thing, whatever. With the exception of that, the actual scene. A far better scene than the dumb show they opened with. Like, is just
no way.
There's give and take, but I mean, I thought that's a scene where we actually see Superman as Superman. Like maybe the only time we see Superman as Superman in the entire 3 movies. That's it. Yeah. That's what we get.
Like I like the ending scene of Superman and Flash racing. It's like this little segment that removed from all the context was fun.
Yeah. So I mean, has its moments, but I mean, for the most part, you can see that he's deliberately in certain moments trying to take down.
He's trying to lighten the tone, and I would be willing to bet that was studio pressure.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the previous 2 movies, Man of Steel and BVS, underperformed. Backlash against Snyder. Okay, we need to. And I hate to say this, but we need to take this situation where he's no longer part of the production, regardless of how terrible the circumstances are, and try to do something different.
Yeah,
I mean,
the interesting thing to me is Snyder created what is essentially a cultural moment, and so much so where you can see Deadpool making fun of it in Deadpool 2. You're so dark and edgy. What are you, from the DC universe? Like, this is something that is just part of it. You're not getting away from it. And Warner Bros. Wanted to get away from it. So they wanted an under 2-hour cut. They wanted it lighthearted, funny. And they took the structure and bones of what Zack Snyder did and tried to make it into that by bringing in Joss
it didn't work. I was saying from the start, like, you've got 2 opposite polarity in style directors.
Yeah,
you can't mash them together and expect to get it to work, and it didn't.
No, you don't get to just bring in Danny Elfman and say now it's lighthearted. It's just it doesn't work.
It's perfect.
Nick, you're the only person in my entire nearly 40 years on this planet that I've ever heard refer to them as Warner Bros. Rather than Warner Brothers. So when you say Warner Bros, all I can think in my head is like 2 twins from Jersey with like popped collars, doing comms. Like, this is the Warner Bros, yo. This is our studio. This is what we do. Check out my new haircut.
And now that we understand about how they work behind the scenes, maybe it's not so far off.
They seem a little bro-ish. I don't know. They kind of look sitting over there doing their thing. Yeah. So I mean, it all makes sense to me.
Tommy D and the other guy. Sure.
Like, maybe we just figured this whole situation out.
The situation. That's that guy's name. That's why it's Pauly D and the situation are running Warner Bros.
Amazing. Too good.
That's great. Oh. Okay. So, well, that the whole situation sucks. I mean, I think everybody can agree on that. And we obviously need to come to some kind of an impasse and find a way to move on. And that way shouldn't be angry fans review bombing movies that have nothing to do with what they want to see happen.
Yo, that movie was dope too.
Yeah, it's great.
I don't know anybody that watched that movie and walked away from it and was like, that wasn't fun. No, like,
yeah.
Shit.
How do you not have fun with that? Oh my god.
Oh man, I was very unprepared for how much I enjoyed it. Like, really, I'm not a big kaiju fan, just in general, but damn, giant monkey is fun.
Yep.
Giant
pretty
lizard
much
has a cat face. He's really cute. Like it was fun.
There is
like Godzilla throws him across
the.
Yeah, I mean the expressions when you got Godzilla throwing Kong across the town and then he smiles like, oh man.
But yeah, do we have any other big news to catch up on?
I think that's pretty much everything as far as news that we've missed out on the last week.
Absolutely insane. Well, let's real quick, guys. Let's give some off the radar comics recommendations to some folks out there listening. Things that maybe are a little under the radar, a little underhyped, a little unknown. Stuff that we love and enjoy because we just haven't been able to write our reviews for them. Last month's Ultra Mega #1 by James Herron at Image was absolutely amazing. Even at $7.99 a pop, it just perfect. I'm not a huge kaiju fan, but if you throw kaiju / Ultraman into a body horror blender with Daniel Warren Johnson style art for 64 pages, I'm there in a freaking heartbeat. It's a cool comic. So check that one out. Nick, what under the radar comic have you been down with?
This is not really a recent release, but it is kind of under the radar, and it's about to really explode onto everybody's scene because everybody knows about Ta-Nehisi Coates might be writing a Black Superman movie. So here I am doing my homework, and Earth 2 is where we're at. There are rumors that Matt Reeves' Batman movie is set on. This could be the direction Warner Bros is headed with with
yo
this looks like this is where they're headed with getting away from the whole Snyder situation. It looks like we're heading to Earth 2. It looks like Ta-Nehisi Coates, who has been killing it on Black Panther, on Captain America, is doing some screenwriting, and looks like he could be bringing Val Zod into cinemas, at home, streaming, whatever they do these days. So I'm reading Earth 2, which is great. It starts out like this awesome Superman comic where a dark side war is happening and everybody dies. And like issue 1, and it's pretty tragic. And I've been reading a lot of Injustice, and it feels a little bit in that same vein, where it's kind of an Elseworld story where a lot of the characters you love maybe aren't there, something's different about them, or maybe they're just dead. Still, like, my heart hurts for the way Tom Taylor, $1 Million Baby Nightwing in Injustice. I'm still in the first year, and but Earth 2 kind of does that same thing where pretty quickly Supes is gone, like issue 1, and by issue 19 you get Val Zod, and it's kind of this whole different vision of Earth 2, and I don't know how closely we're going to see that play out in theaters or in the films, but it is a really cool story that's easy to see why they're looking towards it for something new and fresh, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
Awesome. Cody, how about you? What's under the radar that you're down with?
I'm backtrack into two things that Nick just said, actually, before I get to me. First off, then you start talking about this Earth 2 vision, right? Like the potential of Batman being played there, possibly Val Zod. The idea of this Black Adam movie now, with all of these JSA characters that are going to be introduced in it, makes a hell of a lot more sense. Like all of a sudden, this picture is starting to form in a way that could be really freaking cool if this is the direction they're going. I hadn't really thought about kind of these disparate parts until you said the Batman and Val Zod thing together, because I was still thinking, maybe we're gonna get Calvin, what's his name, the Obama Superman.
Calvin Harris, I think.
Ellis.
Harris.
Maybe it's
I think it's Ellis. Yeah.
Either way, I thought that
Ellis
might be a direction that they would go. Seems like it would be more politically charged, which is more in Coates' kind of wheelhouse. But Val Zod actually does make more sense if we're talking Earth 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's really neat. Also, you and Artemis are the only people I know that say theater. So
I didn't hear Nick.
You're coming to me for this, right?
Hey, what are you picking on Nick tonight for?
Yeah, like I've had a hard enough time,
He bared his soul to us and talked about how much the migration of the site has pained his heart and cost him sleep and made him be on the phone a lot more than he'd have to. Come on, man.
Under the radar.
Under the radar, baby.
I'll give you an under the radar rec that I made this week to a friend that got back to me and said he loved it. I guess you could call it under the radar. From Hell. Alan Moore From Hell. Broke that off the shelf the other day. Yeah. Like
But-
it stands up to the test of time. It's just a great story. It's very incredible character work. It shouldn't work. Like really, the premise of the book, it shouldn't work. And I mean, it's sadly, his theory has been debunked. But it was a solid, well thought out theory that he put into comic form. Didn't have to. It was really cool. So if you haven't read that,
it gets for a black and white comic, it gets gruesome at the end.
yeah, it sure does.
There's some legitimately unsettling things happening as the story reaches its climax.
Right. I mean, I was thinking about it the other day, like in the hierarchy of Alan Moore works, as far as like, here's how fanboys look at Alan Moore versus here's how actual comic fans look at Alan Moore. I think that there's a chance that From Hell is his best work.
I think you're right.
Like, I think that that's probably the tippy top of the list. Promethea is probably right behind it. And Miracle Man's got to be in there, but it's so hard because it's so fractured and it's so hard to find that, like, you can't be like, oh, well, you have to read Miracle Man. I mean, I guess now with digital, it's much easier. But for like 20 years, it was like, you haven't read Miracle Man? Oh, that's because you can't fucking find it anywhere because like it was just a thing.
And then for another 5 years after Marvel acquired it. What the hell?
Yeah, I know, right? Marvel's so rude. But yeah, for Under the Radar, I don't know if it really counts as Under the Radar.
I think it does. Because
Also, like along those same lines, not along those same lines. I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I say half the things I say. But also, the second issue of Noctera came out. I haven't been able to review it because we've been shut down. But Noctera is turning into what could be a very, very cool series. Like, I mean, it's going to be an issue of, can you sustain it? Can you sustain the mystery box kind of element to it? But if they can, this could be very neat. Like, this world is very different from anything I would have expected. Like, the way that these creatures have morphed in the night presents a lot of storytelling opportunity to be kind of gruesome and gory and gross, but also like innovative and interesting and neat. Because we talk about, my wife and I talk about this all the time. Nature finds a way, man. Like, we had a community center here in my town burned down about it, like just before the pandemic. And within 6 months, like nature had taken that space over.
Oh, wow.
Like there was never a building here. Don't just walk on by. This is a field now.
Wow.
So I mean,
That's crazy.
This idea that nature always finds a way, and the way it found was horrifying. Like that tracks to me. So I think that's a really interesting concept. Really digging that book. Of course, I'm a Scott Snyder fan. He's a friend of the podcast.
Scott Snyder rarely swings and misses.
No.
True. When he does, it's a mainstream DC book. Oh,
So shady today.
You are throwing shade.
dude, I love you, Scott. Don't worry about it.
Quick shout out from Gabrielle while we're talking about Under the Radar books. America Chavez, Made in America #2, continues to deliver. So maybe one worth checking out.
I haven't read it.
Oh, did anybody else read the new Green Lantern?
I
haven't read it yet.
That book is legitimately cool.
That's what I want to hear.
Away from me right now, and I'm
it's
going to
fine.
read it.
Yeah, we're
It's
about
right here in my loot bag.
Yes, mine's right there.
we're about to walk into a real interesting time for Green Lanterns, especially considering the last year or so with Morrison. Like, I guess 2 years. Jeez.
Yeah.
Morrison just kind of doing Morrison things.
Yeah, and I mean that's cool.
Without any of the typical Morrison heart.
Right. I mean, much respect to that. Do what you want. It sold fairly well for Green Lantern days. Liam Sharp's art on him was just out of this world. Like, he was doing the avant-garde.
His career has peaked. I don't care what else he does. It's just all downhill from here.
Have you seen the images from the new Black Label book he's doing with Garth Ennis?
No, because I didn't know that was a thing. The Batman book.
Yeah, it's a Batman book that it's Ennis and Sharp, and it looks turned up. So Liam Sharp might be just hitting his stride.
I love Garth Ennis, but I always get very wary when he's touching mainstream superheroes.
Yeah, it's a Black Label. It's not mainstream anything. It's barely Batman.
And since we have mentioned these two things, I'm going to go ahead and say, just to project it into the universe, a Simon Baz Black Label story. Please make it happen, somebody. Come on. It's right there.
I've got the story right here. Like, I just got to write it down.
Do it.
I
Do
I,
it.
I do think legitimately I have the story. Three issue mini.
Listen,
Like if
I've been working my way through this,
Mm.
and I've got to tell you, I'm a Simon Baz. I'm a believer, so I'll back
Yeah.
that play.
Yes, not enough love. I love Jessica. Such a huge fan. I deal with anxiety. I love that struggle. But Simon needs more attention. Come on.
And that's just the thing, though. Like Simon Baz would be a great character if he was ever developed.
Yeah.
But he's a skeleton of a character with, I mean, the majority of his story being foil to Jessica.
Right. He's the other half of Jessica.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like he just needs to be broken off on his own and worked on. And like John's just kind of created this thing and then abandoned it. Like he bendised him.
Hey, team up with Kyle, the other Green Lantern that ain't getting any love right now.
We've had enough Kyle. Ugh.
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
No.
Worst Earth Lantern.
Whatever. All right, guys. I think we've rambled long enough. To recap, Comic Dash Watch coming back bigger and better than ever. Keep your eyes peeled. Nick, we're shooting for about a week from now ish. Yeah, okay.
That's right.
We will be hitting up social media. The more we know, the more details and information, timetables that we have to give you on this thing, we're going to put it out there for everyone to hear. Cody has diligently reached out to our partners within the comic industry, publishers, let them know what's going on. They're all backing us. They're hyped to see what we do next. So we got a lot of love there. Thank you to them. And thank you to all of you, the fans that have really built our little DIY enterprise, because without you guys checking us out, checking out the site, listening to our podcast, there'd be no, we wouldn't be doing this. They're just so from us to you, thank you for your patience during this time of growth. And when we do come back in a week or so from now, we will be bigger, better, and more DIYer than ever before. And other listicle and clickbait websites, we're coming for you. It is our time.
That's right.
Right, Cody?
It's our time down here.
Damn right. So we want a real quick shout out to our sponsors for this show: Frankie's Comics, Carson's Corner, and Lemon Juice Comics. Thank you all for your support. As ever, thank you to you for listening. Thank you for your support to Comic Watch. Support your local comic shop. Read something. Do good in the world. And above all, be kind to each other. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.